Alright, hey guys, today the topic of interest is the power of acting as if. So when I'm talking about the power of acting as if, what am I talking about? What I'm talking about is you acting as though you are the person that you want to be already in this present moment. I'm talking about you acting as though you're living the life that you want to live already at this present moment. Because there's a lot of misunderstanding when it comes to this topic, and it's something that's so powerful that if utilized correctly can really change your life, but it's something that a lot of us don't do. But the first thing that we must understand is that what we habitually do is what we become. Like our lives right now are sum total and a product of the habits we've displayed up to now. So the way your body looks right now is a sum total of the habits or the patterns of what you've been feeding it, or the patterns of the exercise you've engaged in, or the patterns of the lack of exercise you've engaged in. It's a product of what you habitually do, and what you habitually do is what you become. Now, when it comes to acting as though you are the person that you want to be, you must understand that when you act as though you are the person you want to be for so long, you actually become that thing. So one powerful example of this is in the acting world. So actors will understand this to a great degree. So there's one movie that I saw which is called The Pursuit of Happiness, and I think it's an amazing film. It's got Will Smith in it, and his son Jaden Smith was acting with him in that as well. So in that movie he was acting as a character called Mr. Gardner. So Mr. Gardner was broke, he had no money, he was struggling, his wife left him and he's left like all alone to fend for his boy. So Mr. Gardner was busy trying to all these different business ventures, and he was failing. So he was struggling. He had a poverty mindset for the most part of the film. So when Will and Jaden were filming that film, they spent a long time filming different scenes, whatever. And it came to the point that Will Smith was acting as though he was Mr. Gardner even when he was offset. So there's one scene in the cutouts where they're showing you behind the scenes where he was talking about him acting as though he was Mr. Gardner off the set. So there was one moment where his son Jaden came up to him offset and was like, "Oh, Dad, can I get some juice?" And his automatic response was one of Mr. Gardner's. So he was saying, "Oh no, son, you can't have any juice. We're broke. We have no money." And Jaden was looking at him like, "Bro, I know you have money. You're Will Smith. Make it happen. Get me some juice," right? That happened. But the thing was this: his response was automatic, right? The reason it was automatic was because he was acting as though he was Mr. Gardner for so long. He was acting as though he was broke for so long that he started, bringing it to reality. And that's the way the mind works, right? What we habitually act as is what, creates our reality. And this is the thing you must understand. So what makes a difference in people's lives? How come some people are able to do so well and other people fail? And for the most part, a large chunk of it is the dominant emotional states that we experience. So when I'm talking about the dominant emotional states we experience, I'm talking about the emotions that you experience on a consistent basis, because these govern the decisions that you make. So think about this. When you're feeling strong, when you're feeling certain, when you're feeling confident, don't you make completely different decisions than when you're feeling fearful, afraid, and feeling apathetic? You make completely different decisions. And we must understand this, that emotions we consistently feel and experience are patterns of what we're doing. The three patterns that govern this. So our emotions are created by these three patterns. A pattern of what we focus on. So what we focus on is what we're going to feel. So if we focus on, lack, there are no opportunities, we focus on what we don't have, we're gonna feel miserable, right? In the same way that if you focus on what's good, what's positive, what's going for you, you're gonna feel more empowered, right? The second pattern is the way we move our body. So our emotions manifest in the body. So think about this, like when somebody's sad and down, how can you tell that they're sad and down? Like you can ask them, "Are you okay?" And they'll be like, "I'm fine," but they're not fine. How can you know? Because you can see it manifest in the body. Their posture completely changes, right? So they're no longer standing upright and strong and centered, right? Their movement becomes slower, they become more enclosed, right? They start speaking more quietly. You see it in the body, it manifests in the body. Emotion follows motion, motion follows emotion, right? The two are linked, okay? And then the third pattern is the language that people use, and this is amazing. So like when you really start paying attention to it, you notice that people who feel miserable and people who feel happy do certain things. So when you look at people who are miserable all the time, there's certain patterns of language that they habitually use. There's certain things that they use, and you see it, man. Like you can see it in the language they use. So they use words that are very disempowering. So these words like, "I can't do it." There's always a victim mentality there. There's always a situation where something's beyond their control that they can't change. They use very strong words to describe how they feel. Those you use words like, "I feel so depressed." I feel, I feel resentful. You're using powerful words because the words that you use really influence the way that you feel. So if you just change your vocabulary, you change the way you feel. When you look at people who are grateful, they use completely different words, different language to describe how they feel. Completely, it's amazing. So really start paying attention to that. Okay, so these three patterns govern the way you feel, right? So if we change these three patterns, you change the way you feel. If you change the way you feel, you change your dominant emotional states. You change the emotions that you experience on a consistent basis. And if you change the emotions that you experience on a consistent basis, you change the decisions that you make. And if you change the decisions that you make, you end up in a completely different destination. And that's what acting as if does. Acting as if changes all three of these patterns. It changes all three of these patterns to lead you to the destination that you want to be in. So let me give an example. So let's say I'm poor, I'm broke, and I want to be rich. I want to be like a CEO of a business. I want to be respected. What can I do? I find somebody who is successful in that area. I find somebody who's a CEO. I find somebody who's respected, and I model them. So I do what they do. So I look at the way they carry themselves. So if they carry themselves in a certain way, so they walk with a swagger, they walk with their, their shoulders back, they keep their head up, I start doing that. Now, what I'm doing now is engaging one of those three patterns that create the emotions that we experience, remember? So if I start modeling, I'm carrying myself in the way that a CEO carries themselves, I'm targeting myself at the level of the way I move my body. If I change the way I habitually move my body, it changes the way I feel, right? So if you do this consistently, it changes the way you feel. So that's a one level right there, just modeling the way they move. The second thing I can do in acting as if is changing the words that I use. So I start speaking like the CEO speaks. I start speaking like the successful guy speaks. I start speaking like the guy who's respected speaks, right? So I change the vocabulary that I'm using, right? See what I'm doing here? So if I'm like trying to model a CEO, I'm trying to become like the CEO. You'll find that CEOs who are doing very well use very, very few words that are apathetic. They use words that are very empowering, right? They're certain in the way the things that they're saying. So I start mimicking that. I start copying that. I start modeling that. And when I start doing that, changing the words that I'm habitually using, changing the way I'm moving my body, it changes the focus that I have, right? Just by you changing your words, changing the way you move your body, you change your focus, you change what you habitually see. You'll stop seeing limitations, you start seeing opportunities. It's amazing how all this is linked, right? So acting as if is so powerful. When you do this long enough and you do it effectively, it changes you. And you'll find that your dominant emotional states will change, right? So the emotions that you experience habitually, consistently will change. So you won't have as many, negative ones. You have more empowering ones, or you spend more time in the empowering range. And when you spend more time in the empowering range, you make different decisions. You make completely different decisions. You won't run away from opportunity because you're fearful. You feel certain and strong and confident in yourself, and you go for it, right? And that's the difference in people's life, the decisions that they make. But decisions are largely influenced by the emotional states that you experience. You know what I'm saying? The two places you can live, right? You can live where you're in abundance, or you can live in apathy, right? You can choose. So act as if. So find out or decide who you want to be like, who you want to become. Find somebody who's already living that way, and model them. Model them in all three ways that we've discussed, and you'll see that your life will change. And it's something that's so simple. Like, you'll be like, can it really be that simple? Yeah, it's really that simple, but people don't do it. And even if people do it, they don't do it consistently enough. So consistency is key here. So I hope this video has made sense. Guys, if you need one-to-one coaching, contact me and let's make it happen. Okay, so that's the video of the day, guys. Goodbye.